Hello, everybody. We're going to be taking a look at the String-2 question from CodingPat, xyzMiddle. It says this problem is harder than it looks, and we know you're not lying, Nick Parlante. So let's take a look at one way to solve it. I guess actually, before we solve it, let's take a look at what the problem is. We're taking a look to see if the letters X, Y, Z appear in the middle of a string. And they define the middle to say that on either side of the XYZ, there has to be an equal number of characters on the left and right side, or the amount of characters differs by at most one. So, for example, you could have two characters on the left and right of the XYZ, or you could have one on one side and two on the other, or two on one side and one on the other. Or, you could add any amount to that as long as they still only differ at most by one. So if you take a look at the problem, we're really got, just a few situations. And they actually kind of highlight them here fairly well. I mean, there's a situation where just XYZ is not in the middle. And then there are a couple of situations where XYZ will be in the middle. And it kind of depends on whether you have an odd number of characters total or an even number of characters total. So if you have an odd number of characters total, then, like for example, this is 7 characters, then your XYZ has to appear directly in the middle. It has to literally be in the middle, and you will have an equal number of characters on either side. If you shift this XYZ to the left or right by 1, you will immediately unbalance the situation. And that's what we have here. Check this out. This is an even amount, an odd amount of characters, and we shift over by 1, and all of a sudden we got, 1 and 3. So if it's odd, then wow, it's perfectly in the middle. If it's even, however, we have sort of two situations. Here's one of them. We have sort of it's on the, this kind of leaning over to the left here. So there's a 1 character and 2 over here. Or it could be leaning to the right. This could be an A, and then we could have our X, Y, Z there. So these are all sort of the situations. Whew, lots to think about. So here's what I decided to do, and I'll have a little diagram in a second where we could talk about or how this works. So first of all, if you have X, Y, Z, you have to have, in the middle, you have to have at least 3 characters. So anything less than 3 characters, I just return false right away. And there's a few run cases where that is the problem. So let's just get rid of that. We can assume everything is at least 3 characters after this. Then I have this system here where I called it A, I don't know, and Z, I don't know. They're not great names, but what they are the index at the front and back of the string, hence A and Z. So A is going to be the index that starts at the beginning of the string. Z will start at the end of the string. And basically, we're going to have a while loop where we're increasing A and decreasing Z. And we'll keep on doing that as long as A is less than Z. I'm actually stealing this concept from another algorithm that we'll be taking a look at later on, which is pretty fun. But the idea here is, if I have an odd length string, then A and Z will converge on the same letter. And if I have an even length string, then A and Z will pass, but either A or Z will be the center of the X and Y. So then I can use A or Z to compare to see if X, Y, Z is found at the sort of the center of that substring. So if you want a bit more detail on that, I'll just show you over here. I have some X, Y, Zs. I know these are capitalized. We shouldn't technically be capitalized, but I can't draw a lowercase y on this platform, so I can't even draw anything, but we'll just go with it. So here's an example of an odd length string. So A, B, X, Y, Z. So what happens, I'll get out a pen here. Let's use, what have I not used? Blue. Okay, great. So blue I will represent sort of as I tick them off. So as this loop happens, we have the A and the Z, right? So A starts here, and it's going to be 0, and that's that element. And then I guess we'll use purple. So over here, we'll have Z. So Z starts here. And then the loop will begin. And remember, the loop's condition is, as long as a is less than z. So will they tick forward? Absolutely. So we'll have, z will decrease by 1 and a will increase by 1. Wish I could hop swap these a little bit faster. Okay, so then we just kind of move forward. The a is still less than z, so we'll move them forward. Boop, and z will move forward as well. And then a is still less than z, so we'll move them forward again. So they'll end up at the same place. And that's just what's going to happen, right? Oh, that didn't work. Let's just go what's going to happen when it's an odd length string. At this point, a and z are at the same position, and a is not less than z, right? They're both at 0, 1, 2, 3. They're both 3. 3 is not less than 3, so our loop will end. And then this is sort of, this is where we're looking at here. It's the y character. We're always looking for that y character. We're going to go to the left by 1 and to the right by 1. Technically, we'll go 2 because it's not inclusive in the second part with substring. And then that should find us an x, y, z. So when we look at the substring of a minus 1 and a plus, 1, but it's 2 because of substring, we check if that's x, y, z. We'll also check the z as our sort of center place, but they're the same, so it doesn't really matter. It's either going to be there or it's not going to be there, so they'll both be true or they'll both be false. So that works out very nicely. So that's if they are an odd number. Okay, so if we go back, if it's an even number, we'll have two other situations. Well, I don't know. How do I? Wow, there we go. So here's our other situation, right? We have these are even length strings, and you could have like way more characters on either side, but these are examples of even length strings that should be successful. And any other sort of configuration, if you add more or less on the sides, will just mess this up entirely. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Again, we'll look at A and Z, these counter variables. So when A starts, we'll be looking here. I'll just do both of them at the same time. And of course, Z will be looking over on the end. That's the one I used here. So Z will be looking on the end. And of course, A is less than B, so they'll continue ticking forward. So then Z will move forward. And A will move forward. Right? Oh, looks good. A is still less than Z, so we'll do this process again. Boop, we'll move that forward, and purple, as in Z, will move forward. And that's fine. So A is still less than Z, so then we move forward again. And we end up getting them swapping over. So this will become Z, and this will become A. That's the worst arrow I've ever drawn in my life, but hopefully this is making sense, right? A has moved over, now it's no longer true. A is no longer less than Z, but we end up having, this is sort of where we're looking at with A, and this is where we're looking at with Z. So when we go to take a look, in this case, if we are leaning a little bit over to the right-hand side, we'll be successful. This is the location of the y, and we'll look to the left and to the right, and we'll find x, y. Awesome. If it was leaning more to the left, then this one will be successful. So we can see that, the z character will be the one that succeeds. So looking to the left and to the right, we'll find our x, y, z. And so that's why, again, we're using the OR condition, because the x, y, z will either be centered on the A or it'll be centered on the Z. When it's an even number of characters, the OR actually matters. When it's an odd number, it didn't really matter. It was the same either way. So that's why we have to do both, just to handle that situation. And that's really the end of the story. That's how I solved the question. If you threw multiple more letters on the end, it'll work just fine. and any one of these conditions will, be will be correct, I guess, is what it'll be. So that's the end of the story. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope that made sense, and if not, just come and ask me in class for some more details. Thank you.